All right, and now moving forward, we have the next session on the topic digital procurement transformation. And to discuss on this topic, I request Mr. Santhosh Reddy, co-founder and VP Tech ShakeDeal, to please come upon the stage. Everyone, please welcome him with a big round of applause. Mr. Santhosh Reddy is the co-founder and CTO at ShakeDeal, one of the fastest growing B2B procurement solutions providing and distributing platforms in India. He is the man behind designing and developing end-to-end technological solutions at the company. After pursuing Bachelor of Engineering Computer Science from Vishveshwaraya Technological University, Mr. Santhosh went ahead to work for Mindtree in various capacities and developed expertise in developing applications for different business processes. He backed a plethora of experience mentoring project teams on numerous topics, including responsive web design, design thinking, and bootstrap. Everyone, once again, please give him a big round of applause, Mr. Santhosh Reddy. Everyone.
Good morning. Or should I say good afternoon? So this is that kind of a time where, it's slightly confusing. Some people, it's good morning and thank you. And for some people, it's still, it's the beginning of the afternoon, right? So I'll say both, good morning and good afternoon. Okay, so we will be discussing about, digital procurement transformation. What does that mean, right? So if I'd asked the same question, let's say before COVID, we'd have gotten a different set of answers. But if there is one thing which has taught us procurement people, anything which COVID has done, is that the importance of adopting digital technologies, right? And transforming procurement through digital means. So in the next 15-20 minutes, what we will be discussing about is basically I want to throw some light on how digital evolution or digital technologies have helped us improve procurement, as well as what are all some of the problems which as procurement professionals we are facing, and how we have been able to overcome them, right? Okay, so before we jump onto that, I want to give a quick introduction about ShakeDeal and what we have been doing. We are a 9-year-old company now, and we have worked with multiple different enterprises. And I want to, in the next 15-20 minutes, I want to come up with my own experience of working with different companies of different scales, whether it's a mid-sized company, large enterprises, and what are all some of the problems what we have faced when we talk to procurement professionals over there, and how we have been able to overcome them, right? A quick introduction about myself. I'm Santhosh Reddy. I'm one of the co-founders of ShakeDeal, and I also take care of technology. And that's why I felt probably it's right for me to talk about digital procurement transformation for this particular audience. And thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to discuss with all the like-minded people here. And this is our first time in Hyderabad for an event, and it's been wonderful. Also called as I really want to try some biryani here, probably later in the afternoon and in the evening. I'm looking forward to that apart from this. So, okay, some of the stats what we are proud of, right? At ShakeDeal, we have SKU catalog of 7 lakh items, and we deal with broadly classified into 40+ categories. And we have a massive network of close to 5,000 vendors pan-India. And we have a fill rate. I'm sure you guys understand what fill rate means. Whenever a requirement comes to a vendor, how much percentage of those items are you able to fulfill, right? So that is where, we are proud to say that, we almost reach at the 98%. And considering the fact that we specialize in B and C category spend, right? Which is which comes under the indirect procurement segment. This is something, which we are really proud of. And also we have been able to meet 95% SLA rates, right? We will talk about, how we have been able to do that and what are all the problems what we have faced when dealing with companies and how we have been able to overcome them, right? And also we deliver pan-India, 21,000 plus PIN codes, We have integrated with almost all of the 3PLs you can think of, both in the B2C as well as the B2B space, whether it is Rivigo, your deliveries, e-commerce express of the world, and everything, right? I'm sure all of you guys know, but for the benefit of some of the people who don't know the difference between, let's say, the direct or the A category spend versus B and C categories or the indirect spend, right? So while most companies focus on the direct procurement side, and which they should, because that's where majority of your spend goes into, right? And that is when, as a procurement professional, you'll be able to add value in terms of, finding vendors, finding savings there, right? On the other side, we have this B and C category spend, which is the indirect part of the spend, where it is very, very difficult, right? That is where majority of the pain points for procurement professional comes in. Why? Because one, it's a long tail problem, right? While direct procurement, you'll be dealing with probably, limited number of SKUs. Indirect procurement, there is no practically limit on the number of items which you need for a proper functioning of a plant or factory or office, whatever it is, right? And second, just to fulfill those, you will have to deal with multiple different vendors, correct? And these are all, couple of pain points which we wanted to solve. And that is why, because it's a long tail problem, why, having our catalog has been increasing day by day, right? We have a specific vendor team which talks to, which takes care of onboarding new vendors and keep on increasing the catalog size, what we have. And because of this is why we are able to come up with a 98% fill rate as well, right? And also, massive network of vendors. And one important characteristic is also what is the active vendors. While we can claim that, we have 5,000 vendors and all that, it's practically impossible to keep all of them engaged, right? So how do we ensure that depending on which client we are dealing with, which category of spend it is, we ensure that, we keep our vendors also happy, right? By ensuring that we prioritize vendor based on the location, also on the MOQs, what they deliver, and all these different factors. And we are happy to say that, we have close to 66% active vendors, which we are able to, on month-on-month basis, we are able to give them at least one PO for them to fulfill, right? And these are all some of our client base. And like I said, this B and C category spend is category agnostic in nature, right? Whether you are into oil and gas, whether you're into automobile industry, whether you're a pharma business, you will have to maintain your plant, you'll have to maintain your factory, you have to maintain your office, whatever it is, right? And that is why you see some of our clients into warehousing, e-commerce and warehousing, logistics, delivery. We have electronics, Schneider Electric and all that. And also, Cipla, Syngene, which are into pharma, right? OnePlus, BHEL, which are into manufacturing, okay? And coming to the wide, we said, we are close to 40 plus categories, but then these are all some of the, at a large bucket level, these are all some of the 4 different buckets which we have grouped those categories into. One, MRO, right? If we talk about our journey itself, we started off with MRO segment, and then we slowly progressed into office and warehouse supplies, and then we moved into, slightly semi-direct spend, which is basically commodities, chemicals, polymers, and all that. And then, after post-COVID, we saw a lot of requirement when it comes to R&R activities, right? Corporate gifting and all that. And we realized that, there is a need for digitizing even R&R activities. And that is why we created a separate platform called ShakePay. Probably I will, spend a couple of minutes there later on. Okay, coming to the main part of the presentation. What are all some of the problems we as procurement professionals face? Correct? One, the amount of time we take for a PR to PO process. Agree? Who all has faced these problems? Correct? Now, let's talk about how we can actually tackle them, but let's discuss about the problems at this point in time, right? And one, lack of transparency. What do I mean by lack of transparency? Let us say if there is a plant or the brand with multiple different plants, for the operation of the plant, what becomes, the item being available at that instant of time becomes very, very critical rather than, you following the process. Agree? So which means there's a lot of spend which goes into leakages. It doesn't mean to say that, there's no accountability for it, but it is required at that point in time. You can't really help with it, correct? So how do we solve that? Third, fragmented supplier data. Again, if there is an enterprise which has plants in different regions, different locations, typically what happens is that, one, if the MDM management, which is the master data management, is not right, you will see a lot of duplicates for the same item, but a lot of duplicates within that, correct? And because of which, each plant might end up procuring a slightly different item. At a broad level, it's still the same specification, but slightly different make or something like that. And the second, the vendors are mostly localized. Because as a procurement team, you're limited to how many different vendors can you reach out to. If you have done a procurement, let's say in your previous cycle, you most often than not you end up doing that, right? But the problem with this is different rates, what you get for each different plants, and also different standardizations, right? So one is fragmented supply. How do we solve that? Next, we spoke about non-standardized product specification as well, which is kind of related to vendors, where the product specifications are not centralized enough so that every plant or every procurement people know exactly what they're buying, correct? So that. And next, of course, managing multiple vendors, right? Now, in your experience of dealing the B and C category spend, imagine the amount of vendors you'll have to deal with, and dealing is one part, and how do you ensure that the SLAs are met? The items are getting delivered in time, right? So these are all some of the problems what we could see, especially when it came to B and C category spend, right? So how we went about solving that? The idea is we want to become like a partner for your procurement teams. What I mean by that, we come in as a specialized aggregator for you. We keep on onboarding vendors. We keep on interacting with the vendors. We understand the specifications. We know exactly what the different material codes are, what are the specifications are, and things like that. And this way, we are able to increase our catalog on a day-to-day basis. Next, it's a tech-enabled B2B platform. Now, especially when it comes to meeting SLAs, right? Or ensuring that the POs are getting accepted on time, it's important that the vendors participate in it, right? So what we are trying to do is that we are giving them enough platforms, in some cases via WhatsApp messages if required, right? Or instead of going through asking them to log into the vendor panel or something like that, can we give them a simple link where they can actually be able to quote the price, right? This is just on the vendor participation aspect of it. On the other side, we talk about Mozart, which is our custom-built proprietary platform. Through that, what we are able to do is, as a company, if you have one single PO, which has probably like 60, 70, 100 different items, and that needs to be routed into different vendors, right? How do you manage them? What is the status of each of those items? Is there any delay in them? Is there any lead time? Has it been, as the GR has happened for those particular items, right? So digitization, it's at this age and time, ensuring that at each and not just until the PO goes through. What happens until the PO has been delivered as well as the payment has been taken care of, right? Until then, each and every participant or each and every stakeholder in that chain needs to be happy. Only then you will be able to, kind of make it sustainable for all the players involved, and you'll be able to see the difference in your procurement cycles. Next, VMI. This is something which is, may not work for all the companies, but typically large enterprises, right? What happens is that at this age in time, earlier we were talking about AI, right? How AI has been able to disrupt. Through their spend data, we are able to identify what are all those, fast-moving items, which we need to inventorize. What should be the safety stock for those items, correct? And what should be the reorder levels? For example, once the consumption has happened and it has reached the reorder level, the system should be intelligent enough to ensure that a PO has already been placed to the corresponding vendor so that it has been refilled on time, correct? Because even though the focus is on the direct procurement, if there is one single part, even if it is a bolt, not available for the operation of the plant, it becomes a huge risk, right? So how do we manage those kind of risks? So VMI is, through our fulfillment, we talk a little bit about how we are able to achieve the VMI as well. So we set up those fulfillment centers within the plant, and then we are able to identify which keeps on changing periodically, right? What are those items which are fast moving, and how can we optimize them, right? And lastly, strategic procurement savings. The reason we have kept this at the last is, while the focus is on, reducing cost, the cost need not come necessarily only by, negotiating different pricing with different vendors, right? The cost savings or the procurement savings might also come in terms of adding strategic value. What is that? For example, let's say as a factory, as an enterprise, you're dealing with OEMs, right? What do the OEMs do? They have certain specifications, correct? But one, if you have to move away from the OEMs, it's not really possible until unless for the materials what you need, you develop OCMs. And this is possible only by understanding the specifications, ensuring that we partner with component manufacturers and come up with a product which is equivalent to the specifications what you're actually buying from a OEM, sample it, test it, get it approved by the user, and then, now this reduces two things. One is the risk, correct? Now you're just not reliant on one single OEM. You have OCMs, and also, more often than not, it will give you the strategic savings what you are looking for, right? It may not be applicable in all the categories, but definitely 50 to 60% of the categories, we can achieve good amount of savings by moving from OEMs to OCMs, right? Okay, and we were talking about, how are we able to achieve the SLAs, right? Now, we have two kinds of warehouses within us. We call it the fulfillment centers. We have the cloud FCs, which is basically our fulfillment centers, which are strategically placed in those vendors clusters. And then we have dedicated FCs. Dedicated FCs is specifically the fulfillment centers which are stationed either within the client's plant or location or very close to the client's location, right? And this is where we will be able to manage the VMIs for those respective clients. And these are all the different, technology products what we have. We were talking about Mozart, which helps in vendor consolidation, vendor management, gives you entire visibility at any given point of time where your PO is. And also, we integrate with your existing ERPs for a catalog buying experience, right? So for example, let's say you have an ERP where traditionally the PRs have been raised and all that, and the quality of the material codes which is there, which is present in the PR, right, is limited to what data has been captured. So what we are trying to do is, because we have a good amount of catalog, we want to convert that experience into a catalog buying kind of experience, which is as good as, like you buy from Amazon or a Flipkart, where you'll be able to see what are all the different specifications, what is the lead time associated with it, how quickly you can actually expect the item to be delivered, and all that. And the fact that this is integrated within your ERP, and then it flows through our Mozart, that is why we said, from PR to pay, you will be able to get the complete visibility on where, which stage your particular PR is in. Yeah, I think we have covered this. So let's quickly move on. Yeah, these are all some of the different models we typically work with the clients, depending on what makes more sense to them, right? Whether being a vendor consolidator, vendor consolidation doesn't mean that you have to use only our vendors, right? Let's say if you have a contracted vendor for which you lack this kind of a visibility, the PR still can flow through us. We'll manage the POs to the vendors. We'll give you the complete visibility on where exactly that PR is, because we have a dedicated operations team whose job is to ensure that the SLAs are met. They're in constant touch with the vendors, saying that what is happening, whether those are being shipped on time or not, and all these things, right? Yeah, I think we have covered this. Let's quickly cover. Yeah, these are all some of the reviews what we get. Like I said, we are kind of sector agnostic. We work with companies in oil and gas, pharma, manufacturing, everything. Yeah, and lastly, I was talking about COVID, right? We used to do a lot of physical gifting, right, earlier, for enterprises and all that. But post-COVID, we realized that, even that had to be digitized. So through that process, we created this platform called ShakePay, which essentially helps as a brand. You might have your distributor network, retailer network, your employees. How do you incentivize them? How do you reward them, right? So that is why we have all these portals called, we will help you in festive gifting, employee gifting, channel incentivizations, and also one of the product is basically what you see. You might have seen that, scan me for a surprise gift. The thing is, as a brand, let's say if you're having an event, right? We just want to showcase that to you. What you do is, how do you, keep the people, the attendees engaged? How do you collect information so that you can have conversation later with them, right? This is one way of it where you keep the scanners around and then people will scan and then to receive that particular gift or something, they'll walk out to the stall and have conversation with the people, and then you are able to reward them for that, for the step what they have taken, right? And this can be used for if you're having any events, any kind of, brand promotions, whatever it is, right? So, yeah. And this is all the different products we have. We have Santa, which is for employee rewards, and then we have DIY solution, which is mainly for festive gifting. Let's say at the last minute you realize, okay, I have to gift my stakeholders, right? It could be your partners who are not necessarily your employees. Just with their phone number or email ID, you'll be able to disperse gifts to them in the digital format, which is basically we are partnered with close to 200 brands within India. So through that, they will be able to, kind of redeem those gifts for any of their favorite brands, gift vouchers. Yeah, so, and we have a prepaid gift cards as well, which is basically our spend management. We can issue P cards, what we call as a P cards, procurement cards, where they don't really have to manage the spend end to end. All the spend which is done over that card will be available in the platform for for the HR or the admin to see, right? And this is how you'll be able to manage. Yeah, and thank you once again for giving me this opportunity. And do we have time for questions? No. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We would like to felicitate you. And to do so, I request Mr. Somendu Sen Gupta, Head Supply Chain Management, Ramki Infrastructure Limited, to please come upon the stage and felicitate our speaker. A very big round of applause for him, everyone.